great job, my servant. So I'm paraphrasing there. I know it's totally demolished it, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I think I've been when I was involved with these Israelite groups in New York years ago. There was always I always had that fear. Now, I won't say, not that fear. I won't say fear so much. Fear. I was always, to some degree, embarrassed, believe it or not, because although I justify it by, we had the truth, which they didn't. They had some truth, but not a lot of it. I believe now in 2011, and that's why I really love this church, and I will live and die for this church, for the integrity of this church, because I never believed that it was the message, the evidence, the scriptural evidence, the historical, secular history evidence to prove that, in fact, the Negroes and the indigenous people of America are, in fact, the lost children and tribes of Israel. It was always the messengers. It was always, so people automatically shut down when I have a discussion, and they don't do it anymore. But I used to see clearly a shutdown of their ears, because they'll immediately, identify me with, oh, you must be one of those Israelites. But right now, those guys are pretty much fading away, to my experience, and I think now is the time, and when the scripture comes to mind, it says now that when the true worshipers will come and worship me in truth and in spirit. And I'm so proud of this church, where we have gone, and we have our problems, we have our issues within the church, but we're a family, and we're growing, and one of the things that is very powerful with this church, and once we are able to execute this self-sufficient societies and thought process of doing for ourselves, because there is no other group that has more creativity, imagination to make something happen, make something out of nothing, than Israel. And if we put our minds together and we have that faith, that blind faith, you're just going forward and without doubting. I think that's the most dangerous thing in the world. And I think the most dangerous person is a group of brothers and sisters, or I think the most dangerous things in America is a thoughtful, working black man. I gotta say it is when you're well articulate and you know your history, and you're not don't need the and this is not a negative towards white people, but you don't need white people to verify your existence or who you are. That's very dangerous to the status quo, because they're not used to seeing that. So and I'm saying that to say that I know we had talked before and behind the scenes and things of that nature. And I know you're working on launching up a documentary, so I would love to hear about that. And also for those who are listening in, you're hearing Block Talk Radio, the GOC Church Experience. I'm your host, Gabar Yesha'Allah. We are having a discussion with Mr. Cameron, Tread Cameron, who is the actor of many movies like The Wood, DC Snipers. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, also Focus 2.
Yeah,
that's also okay. Also TV shows like The Parkers and General Hospital. The time is 10:01 Central Time. Eastern Time. And to call in if you have any questions, we're gonna be taking a question in the hour in a few minutes. Is 646-200-4309. That's 646-200-4309. So. So tell us about your documentary. What's been the trial and tribulation you've been going to try to launch this thing? What it's going to be about, and if you can't give those names, who involved or anybody that we know, or so, please do tell.
Okay. Well, we're still in pre-production with everything right now. I had always been wanting to bring out a documentary that would really reveal some truths. I mean, of course, we all know about the so-called conspiracy theories, but there really was no answer. And really pretty much what I like to do is, through the documentary, is really much of the doctrine that GOC and Elder Recall, being at the helm of it, is pushing forward with this, which is just plain and simple, the truth. It's just the Bible, letter by letter, precept by precept, line after line. So pretty much that's what it is. I just really want to get the truth out through the documentary, and I'd like to compound the Bible with physical, elements that are going on. So many things that are going on right now physically can be explained and understood more if you bring in the spiritual element of it. And I think that's important, because I find myself out and about talking all the time, and people are, it's interesting to see that people are actually getting it, somewhat understanding it, and open to it. And that's Israel and Gentile alike. Oddly enough, what's weird though is I'll say that a lot of Gentiles have maybe been a little bit more receptive to it, because it's kind of a bit more dealing with reason, and we don't seem to really, our people don't seem to be able to reason too well. But so long story short, we're in pre-production. Right now we're hoping to get this thing out in March. As far as notable names and things like that, I'm actually shunning that and staying away from that. I really don't think it's important to utilize a lot of these individuals with, PhDs and masters. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen the zeitgeist, and we've seen these other documentaries that Alex Jones has done. I mean, we've seen the so-called professionals on the matter. I think I just really kind of would like to see something where the Bible speaks for itself, gives some great visuals and physicalities that kind of correlate with it all in all, and get it out there and see what it does.
Okay, definitely. I can't wait to see the final product, if you will, and it's very exciting. I think to my recognition, and I don't think this documentary is going to be like no other documentaries that have been put together, because we're talking about a subject matter that's been basically ignored.
Right.
The historical evidence. I mean, take away the Bible for a minute, which and we're never going to put that in the side. That's our shield. But just on the historical evidence that exists, that we are the Hebrews. I mean, you have the Ten Commandments were found up and all over the United States. You have within the Ivory Coast of Africa, you have Hebrew cultures that the slaves been left behind, and even you have many so-called African tribes that know they like the Lumber tribe, they kept the traditions, and so much evidence that exists. The Aztecas, knowing that the story of the Bible before the white men told them anything about Genesis or Exodus or Revelations, they knew these stories passing down to generations. I mean, it's amazing. This history has been ignored, and we know why, of course. But and what I have noticed is that, and this is always an issue, even with me when I first started coming into the truth, that is, people, even when they come across this information, is always they kind of like counsel this. They kind of work against themselves, because they'll say, well, there must be a logical explanation why this is not more known, or There must be a logical explanation. So they just kind of like dismiss it because there must be a logical explanation. Because when I did, I have been in a situation, I bring this information to different people. And I was speaking to in the street a few months ago to a Mexican brother, and when I was showing him, I was showing different books of historical books how when the first settlers here in America, and they discovered the Native Americans and how the Native Americans were speaking Hebrew and they knew who they are. Books like Lost Tribe and Promised Land, the history of the American Indians by James Deere. I could go on and on. He looked at me like, how is this possible? But it's almost like there must be a logical explanation for this. There must be a counter equal debate point with this. It's like, and I think that's how big his obstacle is. It's not.
So he didn't believe it?
It wasn't that he didn't believe it. He was in shock. He said, I can't believe you're showing me all these books with this history. And I showed them, literally artifacts, and there was discovery here. And he couldn't believe because it's so incredible. I think it's like the whole thing with the 9/11. And even me looking at the 9/11 and we're working on getting some 9/11 experts. We have some researchers from England and also some first responders we're working on bringing into the show. When I saw the evidence, it even took me back because I just don't see how someone could be that evil. Mm-hmm. And I know we know the scripture. I know the scripture, but it's like, and I lost all respect for the United States of America. I mean, I never respected spiritually, but for all the talk that Americans talk that we're tough, we will never allow this to happen, that to happen, for 9/11 to happen, with the overwhelming evidence to show that there was some form of coup or inside job that happened with certain elements of this country, and nothing happening. After the whole smoke clears, nothing happened to no one. I lost all respect for this country, so I have no respect for someone to tell me this is the best country in the world, and we have rule of law. This is a lawless country. They create their own laws and change their law when they see fit. So I don't, when I was an Israelite and I left the Israelite world within around 1999, 2000. And then I got disenfranchised with that group, and I just basically went out, on my own. And around I think 2006 or 2007, I got connected with Elder Ricard in the church. But between those times, when I started doing the research of the 9/11, it was so profound. It literally almost, it was the pretext of bringing me back to the truth. Like this thing, there has to be more. And we have to, I had to be involved with something, and what's your perception when 9/11 happened? What the Hollywood was saying behind, I know there's been many Hollywood actors like, the guy from 2.5 Men, his name is leaves me,
Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen. Also, you have the